after we ate from the tree, we really not only knowing Tov v'Ra theoretically, conceptually, our knowledge became an integration. We integrated Tov v'Ra. It became a personal experience. Now there is a mix of Tov v'Ra. They're not separate anymore. Tonight is the evening of Marcheshvan. We are in the phase of Yaakov halach ledarko, and if we don't relate to it in the right way, let me just get rid of something here, then it could be a little bit depressing that we are leaving Tishrei and getting into Cheshvan, leaving the palace of the king and going back each ledarko, each one to his way in the world. But as the Rebbe teaches us, we're not leaving the palace, we're taking the palace and the king with us. In each one on his way, ledarko, and in making the betachtonim. So therefore we are not separating. The only thing Hashem says that, when you leave Tishrei, you're all with me and everything, but kasha alai predaschem. So usually we translate it that you leaving is hard for me, which it is. And that's why we are spending Shmini Atzeret, Simchas Torah together, just us and Hashem. But kasha alai predaschem it is very difficult for me, says Hashem. The only thing I am concerned, I'm going with you wherever you go. Please mute yourself. But when you are going away from the palace, my only concern is predaschem. If you are not united, if you are separate from one from the other. And we should start the shiur by the first shiur of Tafshin, as far as I remember, and if I don't, Hashem will forgive me, in Torah or Tafshin Pei Hey. Michla, please mute yourself if you can. And that the shiur is Le'ilui Nishmas, thank you, Maras Orna Bas Chaim Alea Shalom, and Lizchus, all the Chatufim, those who were kidnapped and in Beshivya and are in captivity, that they should be brought home immediately in the best condition that we can imagine and even can't. And those who are injured should heal, and those who are not well should heal, and there should be a geula amitis v'shleima to Klal Yisrael. Usually, we have this challenge of Parashas Bereishis not getting much attention because of the abrupt transition from Zos HaBracha to Simchas Torah, and before we know it, we are already Parshas Noach. Sometimes we have one day to do the transition, and it's similar to this year. And because of that, and I'm sure because of other reasons, I chose to begin Torah Or this year going back to Parashas Bereishis and learning a very special mammer, which is on page Hey, thank you, page Hey, which is also page 10, in Parashas Bereishis, the first Parasha of Torah Or. This is the Parsha, this mammer was said, Shabbos Parshas Bereishis, Tav Kuf Ein Beis, by the Alter Rebbe, which is 1811. This mammer explains the inner meaning of Chet Etz Hadas. What happened when we ate from the tree of knowledge? And the change that occurred and happened in men and in the world through the sin. Chet Etz Hadas changed the entire nature of avodas ha'adam in the world. And we will see how. Be'ezras Hashem. So let's begin right away, straight in. This is, the pasuk begins, pasuk from our Parashas Beraishis, Perek Gimel, pasuk Chaf Beis. ויאמר השם אלקים, Hashem Elokim said, הן האדם היה כאחד ממנו, man will become like one of us, לדעת טוב ורע, to know good and evil, good and bad. ועתה פן ישלח ידו חולו. And now we have to be careful, pen that God, that it, how do you say pen in English? That he should not,
lest
he should put out his hand and eat from the tree of life. Thank you. We can't let it happen, says Hashem. So I'm basing here the shiur on the help of Torah Ora Mevoar, who brings biurim, sai from the Mittler Rebbe on this Maimar, and sai that's from Torah's Chaim, and sai for the Tzemach Tzedek on Ora Torah, and sai from Reb Hillel Paritcher. So we will kind of bring biurim into this Maimar that will explain even more that which is a subject for many, many mefarshim, commentaries on Torah, and especially on Parashas Bereishis, that ask many questions about this part of the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Eating from the tree of knowledge and the prohibition beforehand to eat from this tree. So the Rebbe says, Yesh lehavin. The Rebbe is going to ask now 3 questions. The first one, Mahu she'al yedei eitz hadas nifkechu einehem liyos ke'elokim yodei tov v'ra. What does it mean, asked the Alter Rebbe, that through the eating from the tree of knowledge, their eyes opened to be like God, knowing good and evil? So from this pasuk, we can conclude that before Adam and his wife ate from the tree of knowledge, they didn't know tov v'ra. And through their eating, now something new happened. Now they know tov v'ra. We need to understand, knowing the difference between good and evil, good and bad. What's the negative thing about it that God has to be so concerned about it? What's the negative thing of knowing the difference between tov and ra? Because of which they were forbidden to eat from the tree. And as the Mittler Rebbe says, I'm quoting him, the Mittler Rebbe explains what his father is asking. Lama lo yirtzeh Hashem bazeh? Why wouldn't God want this? Ve'adrabah, on the contrary, says the Mittler Rebbe, it would be proper ve'itzavenu lechol mi'etz hadas, that God should command us to eat from the tree of knowledge. Why? So our eyes should open and we should know the difference between tov and ra. In order, and in the lashon of the Mittler Rebbe, that is way better than mine, that Hashem should have commanded us to to eat from Eitz Hadas, kedei sheyipakchu einav v'yeh ke'elokim, in order for the eyes of Adam to open, and he should be like God. She'arei chafetz chesed hu. Isn't God desiring giving and bestowing chesed and kindness? So the first question the Rebbe is asking is, what's going on? It should be a good thing that men should know very well the difference between good and bad, and God, who is the ultimate kindness, the Mitzler Rebbe is asking, isn't it the opposite, that God should command us to eat from the tree of knowledge, because in order for his eyes to open up, and God is the ultimate kindness, the Zohar brings. This is not, he doesn't bring it here, but the Zohar brings that the main reason, according to the Zohar, for which the Hashem created the world is to bestow his kindness and to reveal his kindness. So wouldn't it, Hashem, who is kind, would like to share that human beings who he wants and desires their perfection and their well-being and their divinity and their holiness, that he should share with them fully the knowing of Tov Ra the way he does? That's question number one. Question number two. וגם מה שאמר הווי אלוקים, what God said, ועתה פן ישלח ידו, as Abigail asked, this is, the Rebbe doesn't relate to the ישלח ידו part specifically, but hence man will put out his hand ולקח גם מעץ החיים, and as it says in Bereishis, he will take also from the tree of life, ואכל וחי לעולם. And Hashem is concerned that in that case, if Adam will take from the tree of life, he will eat and live forever. ומה יחפש לו בזה? Why does Hashem not want it? הרי מה שציווה אותו שלא לאכול הוא גם כן כדי שלא ימוס. The reason the Torah itself brings why God commanded Adam not to eat from the tree of knowledge. What reason does the Torah give? Pentamuz. Don't eat from this tree of knowledge because you shouldn't die, that you shouldn't die. כי ביום אכלך ממנו מות תמוס, as the Torah says. And Hashem says to Adam, the day that you will eat from this tree, you will die. And that means that this is the reason why you shouldn't eat from this tree. So Adam shouldn't die. This is in addition to the fact that the Nachash told Adam that, when you will eat from this tree, you will know the difference between Tov and Ra. And this Hashem didn't say it to Adam. The Nachash said it to Adam. But Hashem said to Adam, don't eat from this tree so you shouldn't die. And if this is the case, we need an explanation. Why after Adam ate from the tree, Hashem kicked him out from Gan Eden, so he shouldn't eat from the tree of life and live forever? Isn't it Hashem's wish that he shouldn't die? Why would Hashem care if man wants to, he will live forever? So you have to say that as long as Adam doesn't have yet the knowing of Tov and Ra, the way it was before eating from the tree, then it's worthwhile for him to live forever. And therefore he was warned not to eat from the tree in order not to die. But when man has the knowing of Tov and Ra, then it's not kedai that he should live forever. And therefore, after eating from Eitz Hadas, Hashem sent him out from Gan Eden in order for him not to fail again and eat from the tree of life and therefore live forever. So the Rebbe wants to explain it to us. Hashem warns us not to eat from the tree so we shouldn't die. And at the same time, he kicks us out from Gan Eden so we shouldn't eat from the tree of life that make us live forever and not die. That's question number 2. And now the Rebbe gets to question number 3. Extra bonus to those who remember 1, 2, and even extra bonus 3, the 3 questions. Now we are at the 3rd question. ועוד והוא העיקר. Now the Rebbe says more than that, and the main question, the main aspect of this discussion. Interesting. מאין ידע הנחש מזה, אשר ביום אכלכם ממנו ונפקחו עיניכם, שלפי האמס כנו. From where did the snake know that the day that Adam and Chava will eat from the tree of knowledge, their eyes will open up, which the truth was so. ואם אדם ששמע הציווי מהקדוש ברוך הוא לא הכיר בזה, and if Adam, who heard himself directly the command not to eat, forbidding him to eat from the tree of knowledge, he didn't recognize that about Tov Ra, good and evil. Rather, kipshuto, that the pasuk says, שאמר לו השם אלוקים כי ביום אכלך ממנו מות תמות. Hashem told him, don't eat from this tree, because the day that you eat from the tree, you will die. והנחש לא נזכר כלל ששמע הציווי הזה. What about the snake? The snake, the Torah doesn't tell us that the snake heard that commandment from Hashem, that command from Hashem to Adam not to eat from the tree. Torah doesn't say that the snake was there. וגם אם שמע כשנסתווה אדם, and even if the snake was there and heard the command that Hashem prohibited Adam to eat from the tree, what did he hear? He heard what Adam heard. Adam was told, don't eat from the tree, because if you eat from the tree, you'll die. מאין היה בו בינה יסרה להבין דבר מתוך דבר, יותר מהאדם עצמו, asked the Alter Rebbe. From where did the snake has an extra understanding here in this case, to understand one thing from the other, deeper than Adam, so to speak, Adam himself, אם לא שנאמר שגבוה הוא מהאדם. וכל זה פילי, או פלא, פילי. Unless we say that the nachash is on the snake is on a higher level than man, than Adam, and because of that, he knew what Adam didn't know and didn't hear. And this is wondrous, says the Rebbe. So again, the 3rd question. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded Adam not to eat from the tree of knowledge, he told him that the reason for this prohibition is that he shouldn't die through eating from the tree. And in this command to Adam, nothing was mentioned about Adam becoming the knower of good and bad if he eats from the tree. And therefore, Adam didn't know that. It was the snake that told him this news, that he will know Tov and Ra and the difference between Tov and Ra. And this is Dvar Pele. It is a wonder. From where did the snake know this? And it was concealed from Adam and Eve. And according to Pshat, the snake said the right thing, a true thing. Was the snake wiser than Adam and Chava? Adam was made by God. God made, not made in China. He was God made by God's hands. And Dafka the snake understood on his own, the reason of this commandment not to eat from the tree that was not revealed to Adam, which is that God was concerned that he will know the difference between Tov and Ra. So who can tell me the 3 questions? Number one.
Didn't Hashem want to share with the Adam that he should eat from the Eitz HaChaim?
So that?
So why?
So that what? Why should he eat from Eitz HaDaas?
So he should know
the difference
between Tov and Ra.
Right. Hashem is kind.
The second question is, if Hashem, it says you shouldn't eat from the Eitz HaChaim, Pen Tammuz, you should die. So knows Hashem did want them to live.
Right.
So then why, after they ate from the Eitz HaDaas, Hashem sent them out of Gan Eden, they shouldn't eat from the Eitz HaChaim?
Exactly.
And the third question
is contradictory.
The third question is, how did the Nachash know more than Adam Harishon knew? Adam heard from Hashem not to eat, or else he's going to die. Hashem didn't tell me, or else you're going to know Tov and Ra. The Nachash, no one told the Nachash, and even if he eavesdropped and he heard, how was he smarter than Adam to understand, really get his Bina Yisera, so to speak, that he should understand there's an Indian of Tov and Ra if you're going to eat from the Eitz HaDaas. And the Alter Rebbe says it's a double plea. It's a really wonder. It's a wonder.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So now in the next chapter, the Rebbe is going to explain the difference between knowing Tov and Ra, the way it is Lemaila, in the upper worlds, in the divine world, so to speak, in the reality of the Malachim. The angels, for instance, they know the difference between Tov and Ra. And the knowing of Adam, Tov and Ra, the way Adam knows Tov and Ra, a knowing that was innovated, so to speak, that came about as a result of the sin of eating from the tree of knowledge. This is a negative knowing. So now the Rebbe will explain what is the difference between the knowing of the Malachim, the difference between Tov and Ra, which is not harmful and not negative, it's part of their divine consciousness, and the knowing of Adam when he ate from the tree, the difference between good and bad, that is what became a negative thing, a negative result. Okay? And according to this, now we will understand why Hashem didn't want Adam to have this type of knowing. הנה תחילה יסבאר מה שכתוב, האדם היה כאחד ממנו, לדעת טוב ורע. First, the Alter Rebbe is explaining what it says in the pasuk there in Beraishis, that now Hashem says, האדם היה כאחד ממנו לדעת טוב ורע. Hashem is talking, שהוא מאמר הוואי למלאכים, that this is God talking to the angels and saying now Adam became one of us to know, we become one of us to know good and bad. ומשמע שלמעלה יודעים את הטוב ואת הרע גם שניהם. So that means, meaning from that למעלה above, they also know the difference between טוב and רע. They have the same knowledge, so to speak. So after eating from Eitz HaDaas, Hashem says, האדם היה כאחד ממנו. We have a problem. Adam became like one of us. He knows the difference between good and bad, the way the Malachim know. So what's bad here? Now the Rebbe will explain that the way Adam knows good and bad is so different from the idea, from the knowing of the Malachim of good and bad, that the idea, the knowing of good and bad of the Malachim, of the angels, has nothing negative in it, chas v'shalom, as the Rebbe will explain. But the Adam, there was, and there is, and therefore we had to be sent out of Gan Eden. אבל מכל מקום. So now the Rebbe says like this. It's from Hashem saying to the angels that now Adam will become like one of us and know the difference between good and bad. It means, we can say, that Lemaila, above in the reality of the Malachim, in the divine reality, they also know very well the difference between good and bad. So what's the difference? אבל מכל מקום אינן מעורבים זה בזה. Nevertheless, the way good and bad are למילה, are above, they are not mixed with each other at all. כי גלוי וידוע שזה טוב וזה רע. Because למילה, in the divine worlds, it is very, good and bad are completely separate one from the other, because it is very revealed and very known and obvious that this one is good and this one is bad. ומובדל הרע מן הטוב. And evil is completely separate from good. אף על פי שידוע שם הטוב ורע. Even though they know there, they in the Malachim know Tov and Ra. But Tov and Ra are completely separate. מה שאין כן, the reality of the Bechina, the principle of Eitz Hadas, Tov ורע. The tree of knowledge is not that. היינו בחינס תערובס הטוב עם רע. The problem of the tree of knowledge is the mixture of good and bad. Shehara, when the two of them are interacting and get mixed together, and this is the reality we live in, they are mixed together, and the Ra yonek mehatov, והטוב מהרע, והיו לאחדים. The reality of Adam, of human beings, is that there is a mixture of tov with bad, good with bad, with evil, in which the evil nurses or sucks life, draws life and vitality from good, and good draws life from evil and vitality from evil. And they are becoming one. They operate together. So again, the Malachim know the reality of good and bad. But they know that one is good, this thing is good, and this thing is bad. This is Tov, and this is Ra. But this knowing does not create any mixture between Tov and Ra. Each one of them stands by itself and never get mixed together. On the other hand, the knowing of man is another knowing. When man, the way after eating from the tree of knowledge, the way man knows Tov v'Ra, first of all, it creates a mixture, an eruv, a blend of the two. Now they are not separate anymore. There is no pure Tov and there is no pure Ra anymore. In the Ra there is mixed some Tov, and in the Tov there is mixed Ra. The question is how much and what the quality and quantity. So the knowing of man, Tov v'Ra, creates a mixture of both. Why is it? Because after we ate from the tree, we really not only knowing Tov v'Ra theoretically, conceptually, our knowledge became an integration. We integrated Tov v'Ra. It became a personal experience. And in this personal experience of Tov v'Ra, which brings us to your question, Avigail, why shalach yado, ishlach yado, when it comes to our midos, all right? So now there is a mix of Tov v'Ra. They are not separate anymore. And therefore,
does
this
this
kind of knowing, one second please, therefore this kind of knowing is very negative, because then the Ra is mixed with the Tov, as the Rebbe says, Yonek mehatov, draws life from the Tov, and therefore the Tov is not complete Tov anymore, as the purifying, that a silver that is not pure, that the ta'aroves of the silver, pure silver, with the dross of silver, the sigim it's called in Lashon HaKodesh, brings down the whole quality of the silver. That is the problematic issue of men eating from the tree of knowledge. And the Rebbe continues to explain it. Do you want to say anything, Sima, or anybody? Yes?
Yeah, this is our world came after the world of Tohu, correct?
Yes.
So when we added all these sparks that are in this world that we had to elevate, and that was mixed also, meaning, right? So is that...
It's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. Sima is saying, what's your problem? I mean, all avoda is to go into the klippos and take out the good and elevate sparks, the divine sparks, and bring the geula. Right, Sima? So what's bad that we are dealing with the mixture of Tov and Ra?
Is that
it's a
what...
very good question. And
Is
the
that...
Rebbe answers this question at the end of the Maimar. Then it would be a birur, a refinement and elevation of the sparks in a different manner. In a manner the way the sparks of fire are drawn back to the big flame of fire. Like in the time of Shlomo Melech. He didn't have to go anywhere.
It would have been done if they didn't eat from the tree of knowledge. The sparks...
Yeah, Hashem wanted to save them from this trouble. To save us from this trouble of dealing with good and bad. And
So
we didn't listen. And I think that in many other mamarim, the Rebbe is explaining that yes, there is a maila, dafka, in the post-eating from Eitz Hadas, of having to be involved with klippos and do now the sorting out between good and bad and bringing order back to this tohu, to this shvirat hakelim, in a way of dealing with the klippos. And the maila is that this manner of dealing with Tov Ra is enabling the whole advantage of Yisron Ha'or Min HaChoshech. The Rebbe is not discussing it here directly, at least. But the advantage of light that is created, or godliness that is brought down when we are actually transforming by being involved and transforming directly darkness to light, through us going through this transformation ourselves. That reaches the essence of God and causes him the biggest pleasure when we transform the darkness of this world to light. And that is done through, but this is not the discussion of this maimar. The discussion of this maimar is the effects of Eitz Hadas and the other option that was made available. In other maimarim, he will deal more with your question. That's the result of Shviras HaKelim of Tohu, yes. But then there are two ways that the sparks that were captured in this broken Kelim of Tohu can be elevated. And Adam chose the hard way. That's what the Maimar will tell us. וצריך להבין, we have to understand, והרי פירוש עץ הדעת, טוב ורע, היינו לשון ידיעה. ואם כן, למה נעשה תערובת טוב ורע, מחמס הדעת בטוב ורע? הלא למעלה גם כן ידוע הטוב ורע. So the Rebbe, I'm just translating and explaining. We need to understand, the Rebbe says, the meaning of Eitz Hadas, Tov Ra, the tree of Das, Tov Ra, knowledge, Hainu Leshon Yedi'ah, it's a term of knowing, right? and why knowing causes the mixture of Tov and Ra. It's about knowing Tov and Ra, not, it doesn't say mixing Tov and Ra, it's a tree of knowing Tov and Ra. Why knowing Tov and Ra causes a mixture? We need to understand that. Because Lemaila is also the knowing of Tov and Ra. So there is a das, there is a knowing of Tov and Ra Lemaila, and there's a das, it's a das, Tov and Ra. This is the knowing, the knowledge, Tov and Ra Lemata. Why Lemala it's okay and Lemata is not okay? Why the knowing Lemata causes a mixture of Tov and Ra, and the knowing of Tov and Ra Lemaila is not causing the mixture of Tov and Ra. אך ההפרש בזה הוא עניין ההפרש בין מקיף לפנימי. The difference is the between the knowing of Tov and Ra Lemaila by the Malachim and the knowing of Tov and Ra Lemata by Yidden is the difference between Makif and Pnimi. The Rebbe doesn't bring here this example, but very often the Rebbe brings the example of Ganva Apuma b'machtar Rahmana Karya, that a thief or a robber is about to break into a house, and he calls God to help him to be successful, do his job, get what he's intending to steal there, and come back home safe and unharmed. So Hasidus asks, is he a hypocrite? Well, how come he dived into God to help him to break through and not to get caught and not to be harmed? Is he a hypocrite? What, are you kidding? And Hasidus says, no, he's not a hypocrite. He really believes that there is God, and therefore he davens to him. But his knowledge is not a knowledge that is internalized, is makif. It remains theoretical, it remains conceptual and not becoming personal, not integrated into his own way of thinking and feeling, into his own personality. It's an abstract knowledge. It is a makif knowledge, a general knowledge there is a God and I should ask him to help me. But if I would integrate the fact that God exists and he gave the 10 commandments, I would apply it to myself. And it will go through my mind and through my heart, and I will say, oh, I cannot steal. That's pnimi. That's personal integration. That's called pnimi, internalizing the presence of God. When it remains makif, we could call for his help in that which he doesn't like, or tells us not to, and not to be bothered by that, because our knowledge doesn't become personalized. And therefore this does not get processed through our mind, the moichin, and through our midos, and therefore through our behavior. אך ההפרש בזה הוא עניין ההפרש בין מקיף לפנימי. The difference between the knowing of angels of good and bad and the knowing of men of good and bad is the difference between makif and pnimi, the encompassing and the internalized. That which is remaining makif and not tailored to the recipient, and that which is tailored to the vessels of the recipient and becomes pnimi. This is two types of knowledge. כי בחינס ידיעת הטוב ורע שלמעלה היא בבחינס מקיף בלבד. Because the knowing of good and bad lemaila, above in the spiritual divine worlds, the malachim, is knowing in a manner of makif bilvad. Good and bad doesn't become internalized in terms of personalized and affecting the malachim. That knowledge does not affect them personally. They remain objective. ולכן יכול להיות הבדלה בין טוב לרע. So the way the angels relate to Tov and Ra in terms of their knowledge is a total objective relation that is not getting personalized. And therefore, because of this objectivity and not personalizing it, not developing a personal relationship with good and bad, שידע את הרע ולא יחליפנו ולא יאמירנו בטוב, חס ושלום. Therefore a malach will know רע and will not substitute it and not exchange it with tov whatsoever, not relatively and not even a little bit. So again, the knowledge lemaila of the existence of evil, of the existence of bad, is in a way of makif. That means, the Mittler Rebbe explains, that whatever the thought of the malachim, the consciousness, the awareness, the thought of the malachim is, it is not mislabesh. The thought of the consciousness of the malachim is not invested and enclosed in this knowledge. That's what the Mittler Rebbe is explaining. And it's like somebody who knows about the existence of something, but he doesn't internalize it. It's just known to him, but it doesn't leave any impact on him. He doesn't feel it, and he doesn't change because of this knowledge. This is how the Malachim know Tov v'Ra. And the Rebbe brings an expression that is brought in Mishlei, כעניין סממיס בידיים תתאפס והיא בהיכלי מלך. The expression of Shlomo HaMelech, which is the wisest man from all kol האדם, is, it's like a smamit. Here they translate like a spider. What they call now smamit is those little soft lizards that are showing up on the screens of windows sometimes when they're drawn to the light, and if you want to catch the tail remains in your hand. I don't know how they're called in English. That's also called smamit. Here they say smamis, it's a spider, a kavish. So you can, Shlomo HaMelech says, you can find a spider in the palace of the king. שאף על פי שהיא בהיכלי מלך. Even though you find this mamit in the היכלי מלך, in the chamber of the king, אבל יודע הוא מכירה שסממיס היא. But he knows that it's only a spider. That means that this knowing lemaila, it's a mashal to indicate that there is no relation between the spider and the king. Somebody will clean it up. It doesn't affect the king at all. That means that the knowing of the existence of evil above by the malachim, it's like the spider in the palace of the king, that the king knows about it, but it doesn't leave any impression on him. It encompasses the spider, he knows it about it, but it's not mislabesh, it's not invested in this knowing. So he is encompassing this knowing, it's known to him, but he is not invested in this knowing. This is the difference between makif and pnimi. Makif means you know something in a way that your knowledge encompasses it. Pnimi means is your knowledge is invested in it. Your thought is invested in it. Oh, now it becomes personalized. Veyesh havdala ben tov lera. So lemaila, the way lemaila they know tov vera is only in a way of makif. And in that case, the ra is not internalized at all, and there is a total separation between tov and ra, good and evil. Kemamar, as we say in Havdalah, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, the one that separates between holy and mundane and secular. V'hainu mitzad sheyodea tov v'ra, because he knows tov v'ra b'vchinas makif aleim, in a manner that he is makif tov v'ra, which means it doesn't leave any impact on him. And he's not invested in them, in ra at all. ולכן אינם מתערבים יחד. So his knowledge is a knowledge that's completely separate between two good and bad, and therefore they do not mix together. So when the knowledge is in a manner of makif, then the tov v'ra remains separate, and they do not mix one with the other, because be'etzem these are two separate, absolutely separate inyanim. When do they get mixed together? When the knowing of tov v'ra is what is called in nedia, in a knowing which is pnimi, not makif. Like the man knows, like we know. Our das becomes part of us. Because when tov v'ra are sensed b'pnimius and are integrated with the same tools of grasping the moichin of a person and the sense, the chushim, the senses of feeling, of emotions, then they get mixed together. וכעניין בחינת לבונה זכה. The Rebbe brings an example of what happened in the Torah. In the Torah, there was a spice that was called levona zaka, a pure levona. How do you translate levona? I forgot to check, but it could be Frankenstein. I'm not sure. If anyone knows, let me know. שביוד א' סממני הקטורס. There was
frankincense.
Excuse me?
Frankincense.
Frankincense? Okay, thank you. That is in the 11 spices of the incense, the Torahs, in the temple. שהעשרה סממנים הם יוד ניצוצי קדושה המובלעים בקליפוס. What do these 11 spices of the Torahs represent? The 11 spices of the Torahs, of the incense, represent like this. 10 of them are representing the 10 nitzutzim of Kedusha, the 10 spheros, sparks of holiness, corresponding to the 10 spheros. The 10 sparks of holiness that are swallowed and in captivity in Klippa. And then the 11th spice, which is the Levoina, is Bchinas Makif Alehem, is Makif over all of them, Ve'ena Mislabeshes Bepnimiyusam. So the Levoina remains encompassing all, including all, but not invested in any. And this Levoina, he gam ken chayus lahem. This Levoina is also chayus lahem. Chayus to whom? This Levoina is giving chayus, life and energy to Klipos.
What is Lavana? What does that mean?
Rivka Miriam?
I believe it's frankincense.
Thank you. And this Levoina represents that which gives chayus to Klipos, אבל לפי שהחיוס הזה שהיא מחיה אותם הוא רק על ידי שהיא בבחינת מקיף בלבד עליהם, על כן אינה מסערבס עמם כלל וכולה טוב. So the Levoina is a divine energy that gives life. There is only one God, right? So we cannot say that two gods, one give life to good and one give life to Kedusha and one gives life to, God forbid, to Klipos. There's only one God. There's only one source of life. So the Levoina, says the Rebbe, gives life, vitality to Klipos, but because the way the Levoina gives life to Klipos is הוא רק על ידי שהיא בבחינס מקיף בלבד עליהם, is that it remains in a manner of encompassing them and not invested in them, removed from them, but not invested, affecting, but in hidden way. Invested means also pnimi, by the way, the rule is here, the principle, the spiritual principle here is that pnimi also means gilui. Pnimi means that we are aware of something. It affects us in a way that we are aware of it. And that is when we are, awareness of our tov v'ra is being internalized. And it changes us, it affects us. But if it is in a manner of makif, makif means not begilui. Makif means concealed. It affects me, but in a concealed way. I'm not aware of it. And that's how the levoina gives life to klipos. It affects the klipos, it gives them life, but it concealed, makif. Not mitlabesh, not invested in klipos. Alkein, therefore, einam mis'areves imam klal. And therefore the levoina doesn't mix with them at all. Levoina is holy. It doesn't, it's part of the Torah. It doesn't mix with them at all. V'chula tov, and it is all good, because it remains makif. So the 10 spheros of the world of Kedusha are dafka b'mispar 10, as we all know that they are 10 and not 11. And because ze le'uma ze asa Elokim, God made one corresponding to the other, so one equal to the other, the Kedusha and the opposite, the Klippa, the godliness and ungodliness, as Shlomo HaMelech says in Koheles, chapter Zayin, Pasuk Yud Daled, and the Rebbe talks about it, the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, Perek Vav. So for the sake of Bchira Chofshis, there is in the world also Klippos. So we don't only have 10 holy powers, 10 spheros, we also have 10 koichos that are impure, of Klippa, that are called 10 crowns, Eser Kisrim de Mesavusa in Kabbalah. These are 10 crowns of Klippa, of Tuma. And what Sima mentions, the Chayas Eloki, the sparks, and the divine life that is hidden in Klippa and vitalizes Klippa and captured by Klippa is divided to 10 nitzutzim, corresponding 10 sparks, corresponding to the 10 spheros. However, that is the Chayos Eloki, the divine light or sparks of light that are in captivity, so to speak, in Klippas. This is the divine light that is mislabesh and therefore is in captivity in Klippos, Bepnimius, and unites with the Klippos. But then there is also the Chayos Eloki, the divine life force that is remaining makif, and that is giving life to Klippos in a hidden way and enables their existence so we can have freedom of choice. So as the Rebbe explains here, is not the entire divine life force that animates the Klippos is invested in them bepnimius and becomes one with them or unites with them, chas v'shalom. But that is the reality, that part of it becomes part of Klippos and gives them life. The main chayus of the Klippos, really, thank God for that, is represented by the levoina, is a madrega of Kedusha that doesn't enter them bepnimius, but remains makif upon them. That means it affects them in a hidden way. And this is hinted in the 11 spices, hamemanim, of the Torahs, that are 11 and not 10. Like 10 represent all inyanim of Kedusha, matters of holiness. 10 are corresponding to those 10 aspects of holiness that are in captivity, like so to speak, their light is dimmed, and they are in captivity in Klippos. And the Levona Zakah represents the 11th aspect, the 11th Sameman, which is animating all Klippos in a manner of Makif. That's the main life of Klippos that is hidden from them and affects them in a hidden way. And therefore it remains pure and not affected by Klippos. Now another point that the Rebbe is telling us here, I'm finishing, והנה המקיף הוא גם דוחה es החיצונים. Now the Rebbe is saying a very Kabbalistic thing here, that we know that the light of Makif is very potent, is very powerful. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why the Rebbe wants us to go on the street and make a Yid do a mitzvah. He believes, he doesn't believe, he convinced, not convinced, forget about the Sech, do a mitzvah. Why? Because the mitzvah, the light of the mitzvah is also a makif light. It affects the person not in a conscious way. Learning Torah affects the person in a conscious way. He integrates, through logic, he integrates the wisdom of Torah. A mitzvah affects the person in a makif way. The light of the mitzvah is a makif light, doesn't integrate into the person's consciousness. When you give tzedakah, you don't see the light that comes as a result of you dropping the coin in the pushke, because it's a makif light, but it affects you very strongly. Kabbalah tells us that the makif light affects the person is even more potent and strong than the pnimi light. Even though the pnimi light is changing you in a conscious way, but the makif can make a person, one mitzvah, one putting on tefillin on the street can make a person do tshuva. And it's all because he put tefillin. He doesn't even know that was affected him. Why? Because Kabbalah tells us that makif is very powerful, and it has the power doche et achitzonim, to reject and push away klippos that are called chitzonim, external ones. Klippos are superficial, they're external, they're not internal. כנראה בציור as it is brought, which is not found really as in the ציור, in the image of a tree that is in the pardes, בציור האילן של הפרדס, במקיפים פנימיים, there is an image of a tree in the pardes from Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the Kabbalah book that preceded the Arizal, added thing to the Kabbalah and changed something in the Kabbalah of Moshe Cordovero, but Moshe Cordovero is one of the pillars of the development of Kabbalistic knowledge. And there in the Pardes of the Moshe Cordovero, of the Ramak, there is an image of a tree that in the context of the discussion of Makifim and Pnimim, of powers that are divine powers that are Makif and Pnimi, שמעמד ומצב הקליפוס אחוריהם אל המקיף. In that image of the tree, which was not really found yet, and it's found in something else, in Mishnas Hasidim, something like that, the position of klippos. But bottom line is that in that image, Kabbalah describes the position of klippos with their behind to the makif, which means that not only the makif doesn't mix with evil, but it also rejects and pushes away evil. And this is what we find in books of Kabbalah, that the standing of the klippos with their behind to the makif, because klippos cannot look at the makif. They cannot receive directly from makif. They can only receive indirectly. And this is represented by the backs to makif. Because makif are doiche. Makif rejects. Makif doesn't accept and nurtures directly the klippos. Makif rejects them, and therefore they turn their back. And therefore we understand that since the idea of tov v'ra lemala, and mainly the focus of tov is, of course, Lemaila, but Ra. How do they know the Ra? They know in the manner of Maki, for not internalizing it at all. Therefore, the separation between Tov and Ra is absolute and complete. And now, next time, the Rebbe will explain how the idea of Tov and Ra lemata by man occurs. And in מה שאין כן בחינת עץ הדס טוב ורע הוא בחינת פנימי. Why was Hashem concerned? That היה כאחד ממנו, that become like one of us, יודעי טוב ורע, knowing טוב ורע, because they know the עץ הדס טוב ורע of that Adam ate from is the בחינת of פנימי, ואז הטוב מעורב עם הרע ממש. In that case, when it's integrated, the Tov is mixed with Ra Mamash, as we'll discuss next time, Be'ezras Hashem. So there is a difference between knowing a good or bad Lemaila and the knowing of good and bad Lemata that Hashem wanted to prevent by telling Adam, don't eat from this tree, because it will bring death about. And because of which he had to be sent out eventually from Gan Eden. So the Ra that he internalized, and this is the answer really for that, and that the Ra, why did he have to be, Adam had to be, Chava, and had to be sent out of Gan Eden, so the Ra that they integrated as a result of Or Pnimi should not remain in them forever if they eat from the tree of life. And the Rebbe explains all that. It became part of them. And the Rebbe explained how it is so and why Hashem was concerned that they will eat from the tree of life that comes from above Seder Ishtalshelus, from Keser, where there Tov and Ra do not make a difference. And therefore Ra can also live forever if he ate from the tree of life. And that Hashem didn't want. Because the job of man is to eliminate evil. Okay, we will get more deeply into it in next week in Hashem, and eventually we'll also explore what other options we had.